Okay. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's session of Basic Hebrew on this 13th day of November 2022. When we met last week, we were taking a look at Hebrew adjectives, and now we're going to switch gears a little bit back to Hebrew nouns. So, when we were first taking a look at Hebrew nouns, we saw that basically there are three different components: gender, number, and state. Where gender is referring to the pattern of endings followed by a noun. And it has nothing to do with biological gender. So, in other words, the gender of the thing that the word refers to does not determine the gender of the word itself, but rather what determines the gender of the noun is the pattern of noun endings that it follows. There are broad patterns, two primary broad patterns known as masculine and feminine. So we call them masculine and feminine just for the sake of convenience. Then we also have number, which refers to the number of the noun. There are three different numbers in Hebrew: singular, one entity; dual, two entities; and plural, which is three or more. And then we also have what we call state as well, which refers to the function of the noun in the context. There are two different states in Hebrew, one being the absolute, the other one being the construct. So an absolute noun is going to be a noun that stands alone or is modifying another noun, but it itself is not being modified. And then we also have a construct noun, that is a noun that is being modified by another noun. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. But this does bring us back to this idea of the noun endings that we saw when we were taking a look at these. So thus our noun endings, and I know that I brought that particular document up. There we go. So noun endings, so masculine, singular, absolute. And remember, again, when we're dealing with this particular chart, the three X's stand for the triliteral root of the word. So most Hebrew words are built off of three letters, and so thus the X's here stand for the three letters of the noun. So masculine, singular, absolute, you can see there's no ending on the triliteral root. It's just going to be the three letters of the noun. Masculine, dual, absolute, we have the ayim ending, and so thus you have the ayim ending attached to the triliteral root of the noun. And then masculine, plural, absolute, you have the im ending. So, and then for the feminine, singular, absolute, we have a. For the dual feminine absolute, ayim or athayim. And then for the feminine plural absolute, we have the oath ending. So these are the absolute endings that we have gone over and we have reviewed. But now that we're getting into the construct, let's take a look at these. So masculine, singular, construct. Notice here that we have, again, the same triliteral root, and there's no ending. Now, this does not mean that always the masculine singular construct is going to be the same form as the masculine singular absolute. Notice here on the masculine singular construct, I have a star here, and that would then draw us to this particular note down here at the bottom of the chart. So notice the note here. We have two different vowels that are going to have a tendency to reduce to a vocal schwa when they are underneath the first triliteral root. So kamates and sere under the first triliteral root have a tendency to reduce to a vocal schwa when they are in that position. And this is going to be one of the ways that you can tell the difference in form between the masculine, well, between a construct noun and an absolute noun. A construct noun, because of the fact that it is being said together with its absolute, it will lose its accent. And as a result, the vowels that are on the construct noun are going to have a tendency to reduce. And we'll see that here in just a moment. But so that is going to be one of the ways. If you've got a noun and it has reduced vowels, you're going to be dealing with a construct. So masculine singular construct, no ending. Masculine plural construct, we have the sere yod ending. Now, you'll notice that I do not have a masculine dual construct form. That is because the form of the masculine dual construct is the same as the masculine plural construct. So they're the same form there. Then as well here, feminine singular construct, ath, and then feminine plural construct, oath here as well. So these then are going to be those particular noun forms. And you'll notice that we have that same note here associated with the feminine singular construct. Kamates and sere underneath the first triliteral root reduced to a vocal schwa. So these are, again, those noun endings that we're going to be dealing with. Now, let's come back over to our textbook here in wine green and see exactly what all of this is talking about. So thus, let's come back up here to where we do have the construct. So the absolute and construct states. So to illustrate what is meant by the absolute and construct states, the following two examples may be taken. So notice here we have the text hu ish. So hu ish. Now, who is going to be, this is in fact a third person masculine singular personal pronoun. In other words, he. And then we have ish over here, which is going to be a noun, and it is masculine singular absolute from ish, having the idea of man. So thus we would understand that this would then be he, understood verb of existence, he exists, a man. Where in this particular instance, ish is an absolute noun because of the fact that it is not modified by another noun. So there is no other noun that is there to tell us the type of man that we're dealing with. But in our second example here, hu ish Elohim. So notice here, I have that same third masculine singular pronominal personal pronoun here, who, but we've added a word here. So we have ish, third masculine singular, and then we have Elohim. Where in this instance, Elohim is in fact modifying the word, is in fact modifying the noun ish. So thus, this is a construct noun because of the fact that it is being modified by another noun, and Elohim is the absolute because it is the one that is doing the modifying. So thus, we would say who, well, who is he? Again, we've got our understood verb of existence. And then ish, we would say man, but because it's construct, I'm going to translate it as man of. And then we have Elohim, which is the absolute God here. So he exists, man of God. Now, notice here there is a makef that is binding the construct and the absolute noun together. That makef may be there or it may not be there, depending on what it is. But in this instance, it's there, indicating that this is, in fact, that construct absolute relationship between these two nouns. But all it does is it indicates that these two words are to be said together as a unit. So, thus, because of the fact that these two words are said together as a unit, the accent, which was on ish, now that it is being pronounced together with Elohim, is actually going to move, and so ish loses its accent, and that is going to become important for understanding what happens with some of these nouns as we go down a little bit further. So notice here, and we've got this further explanation. The word ish in B, so here we have ish, so he's talking about this ish right here, is dependent upon, it is being modified by the next word, Elohim, in such a way that the two words together, ish Elohim, make up one compound idea, man of God. The dependent word, ish, is said to be in the construct state, whereas in the first example, huish, ish stands alone and is independent and is thus in the absolute state. So again, if you have a noun that's being modified by another noun, that noun is said to be in the construct state. If it's not being modified, then it is said to be in the absolute state. So here we have then, when two or more words are so closely united that together they constitute one compound idea, the dependent word or words are said to be in the construct state. The word in the absolute state upon which the construct depends is said to be in the genitive. So Elohim could be viewed as being in the genitive, and ish then is being modified. The construct state has, at times, a makef after it. That is going to be this little binder right there. So that may be there, it may not be there. It is there at times. And in the Bible, always there is otherwise a continuation accent. The makef and the continuation accent indicate that the word in the construct is united with the word after it. The construct often brings an adjustment in form. So this now is where we'll be able to see those noun endings that we were taking a look at over here in this particular chart. Now we can see them in text. So masculine singular absolute, sus, horse. When it goes to construct, again, it's just sus. So there is no ending. You can see that masculine singular construct. Now in this instance, because of the fact that we do have that nice strong vowel there, the shurik, or in some also the holem wow would be another example, this particular vowel is not going to reduce here. But there are other instances where the vowel does reduce. So sus in the absolute, horse. Sus in the construct, horse of. But then you also have susim, horses, and then you have susei, which would be the construct plural, horses of. Then down for the feminine, susa, mare. Well, when it goes to the construct, that ending becomes ath, so susath, mare of. Then for the feminine plural absolute, you have susoth. And when it goes to the construct, it's the same ending as for the absolute, susoth, mares of. And again, remember when you're dealing with these, a construct noun is always going to be followed by another noun. And so thus, if you have this form here, susoth, and it's being followed by another noun, chances are about 9 out of 10 times you're dealing with a construct absolute construction. And so that is one of the ways that you can determine when you've got that same form there. So it when you have the context, it's easy to tell what you're dealing with. So here we have this note then. In the simplest form of the noun, the feminine singular construct ends in ath and the masculine plural construct ends in the sere yoth. The masculine singular and the feminine plural do not change externally, but they are recognized as constructs by the makef and also by the continuation accent accompanying them. So in other words, when you're taking a look at a noun in a text and you're wanting to determine if it is construct or absolute, look to see if there's another noun following it. If there's another noun following it, chances are about 9 times out of 10, you're dealing with a construct absolute. Another thing, look for a makef binding the two nouns together. If you've got that makef binding the two nouns together, chances are you're dealing with a construct absolute construction. Another way, as we will see here when we move down a little bit further, is if you have reduced vowels on the first noun, you're definitely dealing with a construct absolute construction. So notice here as well what we were saying about reduced vowels. So here we have the word bane, which is the word sun. It's a masculine singular absolute noun here. But notice when it goes to the construct, we've got a vowel reduction. The long vowel changes to the short vowel of the same class. So bane has underneath the beth the sere, which is the long E. Well, when it goes to the construct, that vowel reduces to the short E, to the segel. The reason for that, and I'm going to come on over here to my whiteboard to illustrate this. So let's say I've got the word bane. What? Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's say I've got my word sorry, pardon me. All right, so I have the word bane. Now, this word, when it's by itself, it has its accent over the last syllable, which in this particular case would be the only syllable. So bane, it is accented. But when it is joined to another noun, and let's just say I'm going to put the name David here. So thus David, which would be that proper name David, we would say. So now, once again, so this noun, bane, now being joined together with David here.
What is that last letter of Dawid? Is that Daween? Is that a noon? Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Sorry.
You might go even a little wider at the top, but it looks like a calf now.
All right.
And
So
you're going to write on the screen.
All right. So here we have then the word bane. So when it was standing alone, it had its own accent. But now, because of the fact that it is in construct and is therefore being said together with the word Dawiv, that means then that all of this is being spoken together as a single unit. That is, it is effectively a single word. And so as a result then, like most words, it's going to be accented on the last syllable. So the accent of bane moves to the last syllable of Dawi. So because of that, this long vowel, the sere, it is going to reduce. because of the fact that we are in a hurry to get to the accented syllable. And you can hear this even as I am talking. So there are, as I'm talking here, there are going to be certain phrases, and I'm hurrying down to the main word of the phrase. And that's the same thing that the Hebrews did. Remember, this was originally a spoken language as well, so it behaved very much like ours. So thus, as a matter of fact, I would dare say that we got ours based on what the Hebrews did, given that Hebrew is in fact the original language. But so thus the accent moves and the vowel reduces. Same thing over here. When we come to yav, hand, well, when it is in construct with another noun, the accent moves and the vowel reduces. So in the construct, it becomes yav. Then look here as well for the masculine plural absolute. So banim, well, when it comes down to the construct, it becomes b'nai. So that seirei yod ending there, indicating that it is in fact going to be masculine plural construct. But notice what happens to the kamates that was underneath the bait. It has reduced all the way down to the vocal schwa. Now, why is that? So here I've got some examples. Here we have the word davar. So notice here on the word davar, originally the accented syllable was the var, the second syllable. So that is the accented syllable, what we would call the tone syllable. So this is the accented syllable, tone syllable. And the da would be the pretone syllable, the syllable before the tone syllable. Well, when we come on down here to this next phrase, so I have davar hanavi. Well, in this particular instance then, because of the fact that davar, now being followed by another noun here, is in the construct, it will therefore lose its accent. So the accent that was here over var has now moved down here to the accented syllable of hanavi. Not a problem, we understand that. Which means that now the var syllable, which was originally the tone syllable, is now pretone at best. But that also means that the da syllable is now propretonic. And as we've seen, as we've been going through the Hebrew language, kamates, while it can stand in the tone syllable and it can stand in the pretone syllable, it does not stand in the propretonic syllable. And as a matter of fact, in the propretonic, it will reduce all the way down to a vocal schwa. And that then leads us to this final form here, devar hanavi. And so, devar hanavi. Notice how in the propretonic syllable, the kamates reduces all the way down to the simple vocal schwa. And then we also have a hurried form, the pathak there underneath the bar, given that it is construct. Same type of thing happens here with hakam. So hakam is the adjective wise. In this particular instance, we're going to be using it substantively, that is as a noun. So hakam, notice again, two syllables, and the accent would be over the kam. So thus the kam is the tone syllable, the accented syllable. The ha is the pretone syllable, the syllable that comes before the accented syllable. But when it becomes construct, then again, what happens is the accent that was over the kaf now moves to the accented syllable of the absolute, which means the kam is now pretone at best and the ha is propretonic. Well, kamates cannot stand propretonic. So that kamates is going to reduce and we're going to put a vocal schwa on it. But because of the fact that the Kaith is a guttural. Remember those gutturals, Aleph, Hey, Kaith, Ayin. Those gutturals cannot take a simple vocal schwa, but they do take a composite schwa. And so thus we've got that composite schwa underneath the kaith here. And it is A class due to the fact that we had an A class vowel there originally. And then we have underneath the com there, the comates that was there reduces to the pathach underneath the, just because of the fact that the accent has moved and it's in construct. So thus we have Hakam Yisrael in this instance. So this is why we see these vowels reducing when we're dealing with the construct noun, due to the fact that the accent of the construct noun has moved, and underneath that effect, the vowels have a tendency to reduce. And so that's what we have here, B'nai, and then Yadayim. Well, when it goes to construct, it becomes Yadei. So putting the Seirei Yod ending there to indicate that it is dual construct. And then the comates that was underneath the Yod, it has reduced because that Yod is now proprotonic at best. So it has reduced all the way down to the vocal schwa. So here we have then the vowel changes brought about in the construct state will be easily understood by bearing in mind that the compound idea, that is, the construct and the genitive together, are spoken together practically as one word. So they're spoken together as a single word. This natural tendency then is to hurry on to the genitive, and in so doing, the word in the construct is spoken hurriedly and thus shortened as much as possible. And then you have, those are the examples that I just showed. But now there is one other thing to notice here. This note here, the note, so the word in the construct state never takes the article. So let me just repeat that. The word in the construct state never takes the article. So the construct is made definite by its absolute. The absolute is definite if it is a proper name, if it has the article, or if it is a pronoun. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm going to come over to this particular exercise. And so I have these examples here. So kol ish. Now again, there's no vowel reduction here because we've got that nice, strong holum wow here. But I can tell that this is construct absolute because I have a noun followed by another noun. And about 9 times out of 10, when you have that construction, you're dealing with a construct absolute. So this word here, kol, that is going to be a noun. It is masculine singular, and it is construct. Ish, on the other hand, is a noun, masculine singular, and it as well is construct. Kol means voice or sound, so thus I'm going to translate it as voice. Because it's in the construct, I'm going to add the of, so voice of, ish, man. Now again, remember, the construct noun never takes the article. So thus I have to look to the absolute to determine if we're dealing with a definite construct or an indefinite. Again, absolutes are definite if they have the article, if they are a proper name, or if they are a pronoun. Well, in this instance, ish, it does not have the article. It does not have it is not a proper name, and it is not a pronoun. So thus, ish is indefinite, which means then that kol is also going to be indefinite. So thus, this would be a voice of a man. But this changes when we come down to the next example here. Kol ha'ish. So notice I've got the same construct noun here. Noun, masculine, singular construct. And then I have ha'ish. So I have noun, masculine, singular. It is absolute. But notice, unlike our first example, I have hey with a pathak followed by a dagesh forte. But the dagesh forte was in the guttural rejects it, and the preceding vowel lengthens. So thus, here is my article. So thus, this is definite. So thus, voice of for kol in the construct state, and then ha'ish would be the man. And because of the fact that ha'ish is definite, that means then that as well, the construct noun is definite. So thus this would be the voice of the man. Same thing here, melek eretz. So melek would be a noun, masculine singular. It is followed by another noun, so I know it's going to be construct. And then we have eretz, which is going to be a noun, feminine singular, and it is absolute here. But notice it is indefinite. It does not have the article. It's not a proper name. It's not a pronoun, which means as well that melek is also going to be indefinite. So this then, we would say king of land, but because eretz is indefinite, a land, a king. Same thing here, melek haaretz, but notice because of the article, this would be the king of the land. So again, melek, noun, masculine singular, is followed by another noun, so I know it's going to be construct. Haaretz, so I've got a noun, feminine singular, it is absolute. It has the article here, and thus it is definite, which in turn makes melek definite. So this would be the king of the land. And so we have Eved, Melek as well. Eved is the word for servant, Melek, king here. So Eved, this is a noun, masculine singular, construct as well. It's followed by another noun, so I know that it's going to be construct. And Melek is a noun, masculine singular. It's not followed by another noun, so it's going to be absolute. And Melek it does not have the article. It also is not a proper name, and it's not a pronoun. So thus it is indefinite, which in turn makes Eved also indefinite. So this then would be, if I translated it, Eved would be servant of, Melek, king, but Melek is indefinite, and thus as well, servant is also indefinite. So a servant of, a king. But then we have here, Eved Hamelek. So the same words as up above, but we've got hey with a pathak followed by a dagesh forte, which means then that Eved, so noun, masculine, singular construct again, Hamelek, noun, masculine, singular, absolute, but it has the article, so it is definite, which in turn means that it makes Eved also definite. So thus again, Eved, in the construct, we would translate it as servant of. Hamelek, I'm going to translate it as the king. And then because of the fact that Hamelek is definite, this then makes servant definite. So the servant of the king. And here, Avi, Avraham. Avi, this is the construct form of the word of, which means father. So thus, this is a noun, masculine singular. It is construct. And then I have Avraham. Well, that's the proper name, Abraham. So this is going to be, again, another noun, masculine singular, it is absolute. And I know that it is definite because of the fact that it is a proper name. Remember, absolute nouns are definite if they have the article, if they are a proper name like Avraham, or if they are a pronoun. So in this instance, then Avraham, being a proper name, is going to be definite, which in turn makes the construct also definite as well. So Avi, meaning father. So I would translate it in the construct as father of. And then Avraham would be Abraham. And thus, because Abraham is a proper name, makes Avi also definite. And we've got a couple of other examples here, but I do want, let's see. Let's do one more with that proper name, and then I'll hand it over
a couple more. Go ahead. That'll be all right.
All right. Very good. Thank you, sir. So Eved Shemuel. So we saw Eved up above. So this is again another noun, masculine singular construct, and then we have Shemuel here, and this is going to be another noun, masculine singular, and it is absolute. And Shemuel here, this is the proper name Samuel. So thus absolute nouns are definite by if they have the article, if they are a proper name, or if they are a pronoun. Well, Shemuel here is a proper name and thus definite. And so thus, Ebed, servant of, and then Shemuel, Samuel, being a proper name is definite, and thus makes servant definite. So the servant of Samuel. And then let's come on down to this one here as well. Sefer Avihu. So Sefer, this is going to be another noun, masculine singular, and it is construct, basically the idea of a written record. So record of. Now this next word here, Avihu, this is another word that has actually two different parts of speech. Avi here is going to be the construct form of father. So this is a noun, masculine singular construct. So, and we would translate it as father of. And then I have the who here. And this is in fact going to be a third masculine singular pronominal suffix. So in other words, that is going to be a pronoun. We would say him. So my first construct, sefer, is going to be made definite or indefinite by its modifier, its genitive, that would be father of. But father of is in the construct, and so it will be made definite or indefinite by its absolute, which in this case is the pronominal suffix. So him is a pronoun. Remember what we said. An absolute noun is definite if it has the article, if it is a proper name, or if it is a pronoun. In this case, we're dealing with a pronoun. So this then is definite, which in turn makes the construct avi also definite, which in turn makes its construct sefer also definite. And so thus, as a result, then we have, by virtue of the fact that the last word in the construct absolute chain is definite, that makes the whole chain of them also definite. And so this is then the record of the father of him. All right. Are there any questions or comments up until this point?
Are these ambiguous when you find them in the scriptures?
Not at all. They are very clear from the context. that we are dealing with the construct absolute constructions.
Are they important?
Rather, um, as a
Who
matter
cares?
of
I
fact,
mean,
we
who cares
encounter
whether,
one of these in the opening verses of Genesis.
yeah,
Ruach Elohim.
but Rebecca, who cares whether or not it's definite or indefinite, as long as you got the word there. Oh, wait a minute. We were talking about this with someone else. And remember, in their language in this other country, they don't have a definite article. They just have the noun. So in their translation of the scriptures, you cannot tell whether or not the noun is definite. There has to be some roundabout way of implying that there's a definiteness to that noun. You know, that could make it very difficult to really understand what God said.
It really could.
Matter of fact,
Especially in instances where he uses Ha Elohim.
You know, it makes me think too that that maybe to some extent it is not best, is not an absolute best to just translate the scriptures into another language unless you are going to translate them into the other language and at the same time develop in the preachers and teachers of that in that language the Hebrew and Greek text and how to handle the text so that they can communicate these significant constructions that are distinctive in what God gave, but are not distinctive in these other human languages. Isn't that interesting that we have devolved in language abilities instead of evolving to a higher level?
Yes.
Oh well, but see, we, you know, and especially in our church, we're Baptist. We don't need Hebrew and Greek. And I'm gonna leave that there. So, all right, let's see. So,
All right. I'll go ahead and stop the recording and hand it back over to you, sir.
okay.